It is April 30th, 2018, and this is Atlanta United FC Weekly, a Home Before Dark podcast.
Lucky number 7.
7 in a row.
Yeah.
7 unbeaten, guys.
7 unbeaten. How crazy is that?
That's pretty awesome. The fact that we are, granted, we're not number 1 now. We were for
a minute.
20 hours, something like that. We had the number one spot in the East in all of MLS. But we have to settle for second in MLS behind David Villa and NYCFC. Yeah. Anyway, I am Tim Herb. I'm running on an hour and a half of sleep, and it's going to get real crazy in here. And I am joined by my lovely co-host.
You're still more present than Dan.
Yeah. I'm starting to think he doesn't like me. So Pierce is already in here talking about Home Before Dark Network out here, poaching podcast host, damn shame, talking about what we'll get to in a minute.
I think Dan might be starting his own.
I think so too, man. He keeps talking about, I got kids, I got a job, I got all this stuff going on.
Next up on the Mouths of the South Network, Dan James.
Mouth of the Midlands, right? Because he's
mouthy.
That mouthy, that son of a bitch. Man, I missed you guys. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you last week. I was in sunny California for an entire week. We have Kevin representing the plastic that is Home Before Dark. The Parley jersey. Is it Parley or Parlay?
Parlay. I
like it.
Good God, I had a guy. It was so weird. I had so many people touching me Saturday wearing this jersey and then calling me out of crowds, which it's already weird whenever somebody notices any of us from the show out in the streets.
Yeah, I don't know.
But then because of the jersey too, I had people in parking lots being like, "Oh, Parlay jersey."
Yeah, I'd probably get noticed more for that than for I have a really run-of-the-mill face. Like not compared to you. Like, you have the distinct beard and the glasses and
look
everything.
Like every other 30-year-old white guy.
I'm just a 30-year-old milquetoast white guy. I don't even drink. Like, I am the most straight-laced, probably least recognizable guy in the whole podcast circuit in Atlanta. I mean, you have Dan just gives off the limey Brit aura. You have Eric, who's got the beard and the hair and the press pass.
Jay with no sleeves and the tat.
Jay. Which tat?
True.
Is the Home Before Dark tat coming soon? Stay tuned.
Can't wait for that shit.
I may have already scheduled him an appointment with Eddie Stacy. Ink and Dagger. Is that what the name of the tattoo shop is?
We're going to make it happen. I feel it's only fitting if it happens that you and I have to at least put some of the ink into his skin personally.
Yeah.
Or we could do it like the Kiss tattoo, where a little bit of their blood went into all of the Kiss comic book. Remember the ink? But it's a little bit of all the Home Before Dark blood that goes into the tattoo.
Jay, just so you know, you're not gonna be able to get blood again after this. Me and Dan both, our parents ate English beef in the 80s, and we're not allowed to give blood, so neither are you now. Anyway, I missed you, man. I missed recording last week. Granted, I was eating from a buffet and
felt like last week
in a lodge, and
last week can best be summed up as me as Spider-Man in every Spider-Man movie at one point or another, where I'm just holding everything together, being torn apart.
Kevin's trying to hold the house together with XLR cables.
Not only am I trying to just keep this thing afloat, but as was mentioned in the trap by Pierce and the discussion about Jay, our first introduction into the Home Before Dark Network Unrelegated went live last week with their pilot episode. So trying to get all of that stuff pulled together and keep everything chugging along while you are in and out of cell service out in God's country.
It was really weird, because whenever I would come into cell service, there would be 65 Hangouts messages from you and Jay, and I don't know what to do with
What
that.
do you mean you and Jay? It was mostly Jay. Don't put that on me.
Anyway, as Kevin said, we did welcome a new Home Before Dark podcast into the network fold. We didn't poach him. He did great work. He and Kelly both, and Eric and Sam and Josh were all complimentary of Jay and Kelly, and wish them the best. And they're now part of the Home Before Dark family. We're happy to have them. unrelegated, as Kendrick says, hashtag pound the flesh. They're going to be doing their own take on Atlanta United for the Home Before Dark podcast
it's
network.
it's very much on brand for Home Before Dark. And I think
absolutely.
That's ultimately what led to a lot of this. Is we have no bad blood with Mounds of the South. We wish those guys the best. Obviously, it was an amicable decision, and Jay doing content and doing things on his own and with Kelly was going to happen regardless. We had the infrastructure and had talked about it internally between the two of us for a long time. I mean, we've been doing this 6 years now.
Yeah.
So we had planned on doing this. We do another show that obviously doesn't have as much of a cult following as what the Atlanta United FC Weekly does. But again, it's just, we enjoy doing this. We want to bring on other creators and people that are going to enjoy doing it, and they definitely fit that mold in a lot of ways.
Yeah, if you guys haven't checked them out, just go ahead and type in Unrelegated into iTunes, into Google Play Music, into Pocket Cast, all of them, except for TuneIn right now. We're still waiting on the approval process for that. But if you guys are interested, if you guys are fans of both of the shows, you can just look up Home Before Dark Podcast Network inside of any of your podcatchers. You can subscribe to that. You'll get both of our shows whenever they're released,
and any other future content that we add.
Yeah, we're gonna be
the goal.
I did a podcast with my mom for like a year that we're gonna bring the archived content back over to that fold. We interviewed a lot
of stuff. I mean, part of what we got together early tonight just to brainstorm on what the network is starting to become and how to realign a lot of our content as a result of that. So you'll see some changes to the website. A lot of you guys have been interacting with that primarily through the MLS fantasy team and score predictions. All of that stuff will still be there, but we will be going through trying to make sure that this is a cohesive experience and everything is really brought together in one hub that is central and easy to get to, and you guys can get all of it at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, and go follow them on any social network platform at Unrel ATL. And then if Google tells you that did you mean unrelated, just hit the I meant Unrel ATL, and you'll find it.
Yeah,
you'll find it.
Yeah.
Anyway, for those of you,
you can just search Atlanta United, because not only do we have the #1 spot, we got #1 and #2 locked up. It's the takeover.
It's hashtag takeover. I like how you kept putting that in everything.
Yeah,
whenever you're posting. For those of you who are joining us on YouTube in the trap, thank you guys as always. If you guys are not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, the little bell notification icon. Make sure that you guys get our notifications whenever we go live. The way that we do it now, we don't set up the event beforehand just because Hangouts, they're phasing it out. We're having to use YouTube Live now. So just keep that in mind. And if
video quality seems much better to that point. So
hell yeah. And then if you guys are listening to us on your favorite podcatcher, namely iTunes / Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, make sure that you guys leave us a rating and or a review. We will read them out at the end of the show, no matter what they say, even if they're only... No, I'm not going to say that. Anyway, we got some familiar faces in the trap that we haven't seen in a while. I mean, Gio's joining us. Maybe was he there last week?
Oh, dude, we had so many new faces last week. I don't know if it was because you were gone or what. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but it was hot last week. The trap was hot last week.
Yeah, the trap was hot. I got in there for a second. I was, like you said, I was bumming Wi-Fi off of one of these cottages next door to us.
I'm glad you could make time out of your busy schedule of doing nothingness and enjoying the beautiful vistas on some of the national parks out west.
And the beautiful woman I was sharing those vistas with just so happened to be featured throughout the state or throughout the supporter section on national television. And I'm getting chills thinking about it because I'm so happy and proud of her, and also so grateful to Terminus Legion for turning her artwork into a 10 by 10 or whatever it is, 3 meter by 3 meter flag that was waving throughout the game on Saturday.
I just hope Homer starts doing some weight exercise or something. Sometimes that flag got a little limp, dude. You need to get that weight up. I couldn't see that top text. You are not doing your job, buddy.
Yeah,
get it up.
Yeah, in case you guys didn't know, that Kings of the South flag just so happened to be designed by my girlfriend Angie Kokoma. And those stickers sold out immediately whenever she posted.
Yeah.
So she'll have more up there. There's some without the Kings of the South on them.
Oh,
Just-
speaking of that, we did put up another sticker pack bunch and the last of that original trilogy that we are going to put out. And I think there's only one pack left, actually, or did we sell them out?
no, there's one pack left, and then we have one that we're sending out.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
sent
we-
out one pack last week, or 2 packs recently. Let us know if you don't get those within the next week or two. We did have some issues whenever we were giving out stickers last year. Some of them did not get delivered for some reason. So just let us know. And
Weird. It usually happens whenever I'm not in town. So anyway, so Kevin alluded to a couple things, the community that we have, some of the community games we have going on. We have the fantasy league. We have,
Fuck that team. Fuck that league.
dude, I can't do anything. It's like,
It doesn't matter how do I good do.
it don't matter how do I good.
It doesn't matter how good I do. This week I had the highest point total I've done in a week, which I still haven't broken triple digits, but I had an 83 point week or something like that. I'm still stuck in 42nd or something. I just cannot get any headway.
I got so excited after the Atlanta United game. I jumped up from 66 to 60th. I was like, yes, I'm gaining ground. And then everybody else shit the bed. And then I realized we're all Atlanta United fans, and
everybody has Almiron as their captain.
Yes,
exactly.
Everybody had the same 30 points I did, and it's total hogwash. So we'll figure that out.
I made the mistake and did. I thought this was going to be the game that Martinez was going to get the goals and not Almiron. So
see, that was me last week.
I had Martinez as captain, so I did not get that 30 point swing, but I still ended up with 82 or 83 points, and yeah, just faltering. But at least I'm above the midway mark, unlike you. So there's that.
Yeah, let me go ahead and go through the top 5. We have at 5, we have Claremont Lounge FC. That's Lewis with 740. We got Ooh La La Blobfish by Ooh La La Bad Boy at 745 points. We have Jamiroquai's Hat at Kevin Gorham with 746. Dude, it's so close between 2nd and 5th. We have Dog for Him at 2nd. That's Benson with 760. And then John F. Beasy, who you guys called out.
Strong.
Who you guys called out last week, who ended up...
not you guys. Dan called him out.
Yeah, it's true. He ended up he turns out he's the biggest fan of the Home Before Dark podcast there is. And Dan just so happened to shame him. He's like the quiet fan, first time caller, long time listener guy.
Yeah.
Who never called in, and he was just a really long time listener.
Not only did we get him clapping back, but we had his whole squad come out of the woodwork and being like, yo, check our group.
Dude, that
Get
was
at me, bro.
were they trying to say they have a whole group me dedicated to Home Before Dark?
I don't know if that's what they intended, but that's what I took it.
Yeah, same here. But John F. Beasy is running away with the league still. We had somebody ask, and I can't remember who it was, so forgive me, but we had somebody ask about 4th through or 2nd through 5th, whether or not we're going to give sticker packs.
Consolation prizes?
Yeah, we'll give sticker packs.
Yeah.
That's what the consolation prize will be for 2nd through 5th. Prediction League, I have not updated the standings, but with that, don't worry. If you go to the predictions page now.
Don't worry, Jay's in the lead.
Yeah. If you go to the predictions page right now, it's still not updated for the Chicago Fire game. That is because by midweek, by Wednesday, I will have the Prediction League set up on gethomebeforedark.com. If you guys go there, create an account, you guys can go preemptively create an account, and I will have the prediction set up. It's going to have real-time scoring. I'm going to bring in, it's going to be a lot better, and we're going to push that as long as it's successful and it works well. We're going to push that into World Cup too. We're going to do a World Cup. We're going to do a World Cup Prediction League.
Every last drop out of that bottle.
All right. I fulfilled my legal obligations. We can finally get into the damn show. We got...
Hence the pour. It's that time.
Yep. So we had Montreal on Saturday.
We did.
Thank God for ESPN Plus. I was able to listen to the sultry tones of Kevin Egan and Dan Gargan yet again.
Yeah.
It's nice because whenever we're at home, obviously we're at the games most of the time. I wasn't there, so I was able to listen to them on the way. And it wasn't, Alexi Lawless and Taylor Twellman. It wasn't the national TV crowd, which I love Kevin Egan and Dan Gargan doing those games together. They're, I don't know, they do a great job together, and I'm just glad to have them back. With that, we had a bus to unpark early on from the beginning of the game.
And what did we do? We got out the lug wrench. We took the lug bolts off, took the wheels off, flipped that bitch, and lit it on fire.
We said, "Fuck your Merita bread truck."
We said, okay, we're gonna start out light. We're gonna start poking holes in the side of it, lighten it up, take the seats out, start doing what we can to break it down in the first half. It's like, okay, we see what you're gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and park it. We're gonna just keep hammering. And that was, I'm getting Dan Noto, buddy, friend of the show. Tweets is like, this has got trap game written all over it. Like, they're up 1-0. We can't break through. It's like, give it time, man. They cannot weather this storm. Had that happen in the 60th minute, maybe the 70th minute, I think Atlanta is in trouble if that happens that late. But that happening the way it did in the 12th minute, it was just a matter of time when they fell back that they were going to have to rely on lucky breaks. And going into halftime, you could tell that they were starting to falter a little bit. And even with that, it took 3 set piece goals to really establish that. But once that first goal, and that was kind of the point that I was making, was once the first point falls, the rest of them are going to come pretty quickly because they're going to have to react to that in some way. And it was just a matter of time before that happened. And so that second part of that first half, you saw Atlanta just forcing everything up top, pressing high, trying to create opportunities, and forcing them to react to that and play on their heels and have to play to everything. And there was a lot of back and forth about Gressel's play and whether it was good or bad, that he had a lot of crosses that weren't on point. But I think that's part of lightening up the weight of the bus. That was part of those taking the seats out because they didn't know what to expect, where the threat was really coming from going into the second half.
Right. You have to start somewhere. And I felt like we did. To me, that is the strategy that you really need to go and employ whenever you're trying to break down the park of the bus, the Jose Mourinho special.
It's the Raptors testing the fence. That's what it was, man. It was like, all right, we're going to send Nagbe and Barco up the gut. We're going to feed it out to Garza and Almiron and Gressel on the wings and see what we can kick in from outside. It was just constantly trying to figure out where we were going to penetrate that back line at.
Yeah. To me, again, this is the best way to do it. You work laterally. You really set out that focus on the outside and then start getting them to fan out a little bit. And now we do have players that can go and take advantage. They can unlock. You have Barco and Almiron we'll get to that in a minute. He was unbelievable yet again. The man is so much quicker with the ball than without. And I can't, for the life of me, I can't wrap my head around that fact.
No better example of that than the goal he scores off of I will echo Jay's point on unrelegated, which Martinez's back heel was completely unintentional. Nonetheless, Almiron set up where Nagbe plays the ball from the backfield and Almiron turns on the Jets as soon as the ball's at his feet. There's no better example of what you're saying than that exactly.
Yeah, we had to get them focused on one facet of attack and then get them to then open up a little bit. Because once they got that goal, dude, they bunkered so hard. Like, you looked and it was 10 men behind the 50. It was 10 men almost pretty much in their defending third. And we had to do something about it. And luckily Duval had that really stupid handball in the box. Yep. They ended up capitalizing on. Thank God, because Evan Bush guessed right, hit the ball, and somehow Almiron still snuck it past him. We got to get better at penalties, guys. And I don't take that lightly anymore, especially after what happened with Columbus last year.
Well, I think the next penalty we get very well may go Barco's way.
It's going to be, right? He was he was mad about the penalty or the free kick?
I think it was the penalty.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't care who takes him at this point. They all have to get better at it. But I'm wondering why Nagbe does anybody know what is? I mean, I don't know Nagbe's PK record whenever he was playing in Portland, but typically whenever I think of somebody who's coming up to take a penalty, it's usually like a number 8 that's coming up. I'm thinking of Steven Gerrard. I'm thinking of my Liverpool teams, but James Milner going up there, or Frank Lampard, or what have you, going up and taking that. And I'm just wondering, does Nagbe not have a good record scoring penalties? Because I feel like maybe he needs to,
or if it's just a matter of familiarity and longevity in the team yet. And I think that's part of the reason why Barco hasn't taken one yet either. So, in the trap, we got a lot of comments about the bunker. Jeb Hart saying he doesn't think that it would have ever happened, meaning the goal by Montreal in the 60th minute. They planned on parking the bus, but up one that early, they parked it and slashed the tires. Without that goal, they would have bunkered but not been barricaded. I agree, and Brittany S. does as well with that. And you know, part of the whole bunkering scenario and what we talked about in preseason is the threats that Atlanta United has now, where last year, whenever DC did that, or some of these other instances of people that knew to just sort of play back on Atlanta, let them tire themselves out because they really only had one threat, which was feeding the long ball to Martinez. They might have a cross option here or there, but Gressel wasn't really in the lineup in a regular sense last year. He was in and out. He hadn't established himself as a true winger in the way that he has over the second half of last season, or I'd say the last quarter of the season last year, and then up until this point this year, where he's consistently becoming a dominant threat on that right wing. And you see people like Nagbe and Barco taking some of the pressure off of Almiron and Martinez, so that teams are really having to react to how they're going to break down the park bus rather than making Atlanta be one-dimensional, because it's getting harder and harder to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have dominant players now in almost every position on the field. So when talking about Gressel, so you say, and it was kind of indicative of the response that was going on Twitter. It was, you know, they can't keep going to him. He's not having a great game crossing the ball. But guess what? I mean, he's getting open. He's creating space. Not every cross is going to be great, especially whenever you're playing with 10 men behind the ball.
Right.
It's going to be hard to put that ball in. He's probably overthinking it in some ways, where he's trying to pinpoint pass to.
Not every long ball to Joseph is going to be on point either, up the middle. Not every ball where Barco is trying to draw defenders is going to be as successful either. But if you create a threat or a viable option where he's getting service from the wing, they have to respect it.
To me, with the verticality of Joseph Martinez, it's not a joke. I mean, the guy can jump out the building.
Dude, that first save that they get off of his header, that is pinpoint, like laser across from Gressel.
Right. To me, I think this is what you were getting at. I would much rather have Julian Gressel feeding in balls from the right side into the box, especially earlier on the ground, to players that Joseph Martinez can get up in the air and crash that. You have Nagbe that's going to be able to take volleys off of rebounds outside of the box. You're going to have Almiron that can put in anything from anywhere. I'd rather have that than hoof the ball up to Joseph, because over the past few weeks we have seen that ball's lacking. Like we said, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, we don't play direct that much, and it shows in the weight of the pass and the overhead pass, the high school through ball. You know, the go get it fast kid that plays striker for us. I want to make a comparison right now, and it's kind of early. And I know you don't like to think of Julian Gressel as a right back, but to me, if even in a 4-3-2-1 or what have you, 4-2-3-1, I think he is still the best right back that we have on this team. So I want to liken his arc right now, and it's really early compared to that of Graham Zusi, but is very similar to me of Graham Zusi, because you had Graham Zusi, who was a serviceable midfielder. He's actually great. It seemed like a great midfielder for SKC. And then he was playing well and starting occasionally for the U.S. men's national team in the center of the park. And then he gets moved over right back. Whatever, he gets deputized in that right back position. And guess what? He's actually a pretty good right back. He can, and the same thing's happening with Gressel. Gressel has good control of the ball. He can cross. He's tenacious. He has speed. He can cover the entire wing, both on offense and defense. And it's the same thing for Graham Zusi. And I think that we have found a gem in that. I mean, we thought that last year. Obviously, he won Rookie of the Year. He did a great job playing either on the right wing or sometimes playing in the hole. Even early on in the season, playing more defensive. And he seemed to fit, but we needed to put him in another position. And he really has stepped up, whether that's right wing back in this 3-5-2, or if I honestly think right now he starts as the right back over Franco Escobar in a 4-3-2-1. Or 4-2-3-1.
I'm still really hesitant about it. And I understand everybody's points about his ability to play defense and how much he's been playing. I think the right wing back, maybe I'm more comfortable with that than strictly right back, because of the fact that if we are stuck in a position to where teams are really high pressing on us, I think that that's where my concern is with Gressel, is him having to track so far back and play so much more defensively than what he has been asked to do in the past few weeks versus his natural ability to be up top. How much that's going to start to exhaust him as he's tracking forward and backwards so much throughout the course of the game. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm still just hung up on the fact of him being a true right back in a 4-back scenario.
And I understand that. I think that we have seen in one game, granted, I guess 2 games, that Franco Escobar is a good player and he could play that right back position. But right now, I am just of the opinion that we don't replace Julian Gressel because he's been such a focal point of this team going forward. But at the same time, in the same way that Anton Walkes could, he can get back and he can cover that position.
But I think there's a way to not replace Gressel without going to him being a right back. I think that sticking with the 3-back, and then if we get forced in a position where teams are high pressing us and we need a right back, that he starts to falter, that we don't try to make him fit into that mold and bring in Escobar, somebody that's going to inherently play that position a little bit better, in my opinion.
So we have a couple comments in the trap. Brian D-Box said they maybe needed to be low crosses to get an own goal with that many players behind the ball. That's true. I mean, there were so many people behind the ball.
It was Raptors testing the fence, man. Like those balls, and I think that might be part of that too, is what some people may have saw as not accurate. I saw as opportunities opening. Yeah, exactly. Where those crosses are going on back post, they're going front post, they're going across the floor. You're seeing this variety that I don't think that I've seen that sort of inconsistency out of Gressel to make me instantly think that it was all unintentional and he just had a wildly inaccurate game. I think it was trying to probe to see what was opening up and where we could exploit that in the second half.
Yeah, for sure. David Harris with, I think, the best. We have conflicting, I guess, comments in the trap. David Harris, I think, with the best synopsis of Gressel's game. He said that cross in the 6th minute. How many scoring opportunities does he have to produce? Job done, Gressel. And then Elliot Bevan saying that was not Gressel's best game. So I guess it's subjective. Right.
Well, again, so here's the deciding factor in that case. In a traditional sense of what Atlanta United has typically done over the past, let's say, past 3 games, Montreal not included, Gressel it's the same point that I don't know if you were here or if it was something that Dan and I discussed about Guzan's distribution.
I think it was 2 weeks ago. We were talking about his distribution.
So how his inconsistencies in distribution has been more acknowledged or noticeable because he's being forced to distribute more frequently because our defense has relied on the drop pass. You didn't notice that this game because it wasn't as prevalent. And so he only had to distribute from the back line a few times, and it wasn't that big of a deal. I think the same point can be made to Gressel and his crossing ability or inability or inefficiency, in that early on in the game, he has a pinpoint cross to Joseph. He has several other throughout the game that are spot on and in a position for players to make a play on the ball that just don't fall that way. But because he was forced to make 18 crosses because they were sitting back so much, you're going to notice that there was some quote unquote inconsistencies in it. And I'm not convinced that it was inconsistency or a bad play. I think it was legitimately trying to probe to see what we could take advantage of and what was going to work out and where we could be in a position to make a play.
Yeah, listen, you have Klay Thompson or Steph Curry have a bad night, but they're open from 3 the entire night. You want them to take those shots because they're going to hit a few. I think the same thing with Gressel. Gressel didn't have his most accurate game. We've talked about that at too far a length at this point. But at the same time, you still know his ability to do that, and you want him there on that line. You want him probing. You want him probing on that right side, putting them on the floor, putting them low, putting them high. It doesn't matter. Curving them. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Because he's been far better at distributing with his distribution this year than has Greg Garza in the same position. And I think we're starting to see Garza, I think, is kind of in a bad way in terms of his health right now, and I think it's starting to show a little bit. But to me, I think Gressel is an integral part to this team, and he has been a huge part of this 7-game unbeaten streak,
and a huge part of unparking the bus. And that gets me to my next point, which is I think a lot of this discussion is going to revolve around how Atlanta was able to break down that back wall. And I think the other threat that I think Almiron and Kratz will get a lot of notoriety and deservingly so. But I think the other critical part of that was Barco's play this weekend, because without Barco drawing defenders and opening up play interior to the 18 and Gressel on the wing, it doesn't open up those lanes for Almiron to overlap with and Nagbe to cut inside on and Martinez to be tracking. All of that is predicated upon both of those as utility players that we did not necessarily see in that fashion last year.
No, I agree with you. And in our show prep notes, you put the perfect word there, I think, and that's cohesion. Mm-hmm. There is a cohesion about and a chemistry about this midfield, the middle of the park. You don't worry about their one touches and their two touches to each other. They're always playing off of each other. Nobody is staying still, with the exception of maybe Nagbe playing a safety net at some point, and same with Lorenowitz. But they're playing off of each other constantly. They're so quick to get on the ball. And to your point, I mean, we talked about in the preseason, we needed somebody that was our weakness last year, right? We got beat so often last year by teams that would park the bus and counterattack. I mean, it happened 3 times against DC. And whenever Barco came in and we watched him play in the Copa Sudamerica, we watched his highlight film and we thought, damn, this kid could probably break down a bus.
Right.
Like, he can be the kid that goes and weaves in and out, and he can go and confuse those defenders. He can stretch those defenders out and give space to somebody as dangerous as Almiron to run around. And it may not be resembled in the score sheet. It might not be in the box score that Barco broke that bus down, but you sure as hell notice, because Almiron's getting open.
Yes.
And you're getting so much more play in the midfield, and those guys play so well off of each other.
Well, the thing that was interesting to me this week over last week is where this could have easily magnified the issues that I saw in last week's game. Last week, we get the win. We're great, But the big issue I had last week was in the midfield, especially on that left wing. Things got so congested where Atlanta was getting in their own way sometimes, where Almiron was coming over to support Barco and limiting Barco's mobility, pulling defenders. Garza was coming up to support as well. And this week, with them being bunkered and with the tight space and tight availability of space up top, that could have easily opened Atlanta up to the counterattack. But they found a way to remedy that, and rather than focusing on one specific node on the field or one area, they really did open that up with the ball and with space so that they weren't bunching up, and it opened up those lanes a lot more, which was really nice to see in just a week's time. That I didn't see a lot of that, where players were getting in each other's way or overstepping one another spatially.
No, not at all. And I was going to ask you really quick, because I saw this sentiment put forth on Twitter and on the Facebook group. I take what's on the Facebook group with a grain of salt. But did you feel like it seemed like there were a number of people who felt like we didn't play our best game and that the scoreline was flattering? Whereas I was saying halfway through the game, once we scored that first goal, the PK was the first goal. I was looking at the way we were attacking. I mean, I told Angie, I was like, the floodgates are going to open at some point.
It was just a matter of time.
The way we were attacking it, I think it was what Jeb Hart had kind of alluded to. Actually, he's pretty pretty explicit in his remark here, saying the most telling stat is goals Atlanta has scored after the 60th minute. So you can't withstand our attack for 90 minutes without tiring. Once they see a crack, they crank it to 11. It's a hell of a killer instinct. And no better example of that than the Montreal game. And I felt honestly like we played a really great game.
Rip.
Did you say rip?
I said, yep. No, I was checking out the trap, trying to see what other comments. David Harris has another point to that. I mean, I think what lends itself, and this sets up the discussion about the second half of the game, which is the flexibility in the lineup. And David Harris has a point. Flexibility in formation and personnel will be key moving forward. Maybe games that Gressel sits, may play wing back in 3-5-2, may play right wing on 4-2-3-1, depends on opponents, score, suspension, so on and so forth. I think that we've talked a lot about Tata's hesitations to make a critical substitution whenever things aren't working. And lo and behold, this game, we're starting to see the line break down a little bit. But I mean, going into that second half, we saw the tide starting to turn, but nothing had really fallen yet. We were still waiting for the other shoe to drop. And he comes out with a bold statement in a substitution with Tito Villalba for Jeff Larentowicz out to start the second half.
Yeah, and one thing to note, and it looks like Brian Diefenbach was saying he thought he took a knock. He thought Jeff took a knock. And to your point about the earlier substitutions, the only other one that I can really think of that was that early on was maybe it was against LAFC, is whenever Tito got hurt too, whenever he took that knock and he came out early in the game. So it maybe was a forced substitution, but regardless, it was good to see Tito back on the field. Also, how good did he look in cramped spaces, not running wild on the wings?
Yes. And he had a great opportunity in front
of
goal.
We pretty much played 4 at the front.
Yes.
And it was awesome.
Yes. He was consistently, it seemed like, whereas Barco was taking up space and distributing from the 18 to, let's say, the 18 to 23 yard strip, right? That 5 yards just past the 18. Yeah. Tito was doing the opposite. From the 18 to 12 yard inside the box, he was constantly holding up play and then redistributing out to Martinez or Almiron, whoever was coming up for support. So over the span of that 10 yards, you were constantly making the defense second and triple guess where the ball was going to be going, because they're just as viable a threat as anybody else.
Absolutely. Is. I mean, think back to the Mercedes-Benz Montreal game last season, whenever all Tito needed was it was pretty much a half volley that he took, and the rest was history. And to Matt Wisniewski's point, good to see you in the trap saying, I really hope he's right. He said, I think we put Tito on so early because Montreal wanted nothing to do with the attack.
And Jeb Hart echoes that point. It was a good move. We didn't need defensive presence if they were going to sit 9 in the box, needed an attacking player because they were zero threat to a counter playing the way where
Tito had the ball, maybe is what he meant.
where Tito was the call. Yes, I
was wondering where all this Elijah Craig went. I'm pretty sure Jeb came over and stole it at some point.
He's talking about curds and whey. I think he's making cheese. I can't tell. Whey. Who knows? Okay,
really quick, because Octavio Mingura has 2 of the best comments that I've seen so far in the trap.
Oh, yes! The second one especially.
His first one, and it wasn't the first one in there. Who else did that? Michael Ruiz saying, "Ue la bad boy." We had that in there, but then I like Octavio's.
Wubba lubba dub dub bad boys.
Yeah, I love it. So we had probably the most awesome celebration of all time happen at the game.
I love that it's just 2 weeks removed from us having the anime discussion on the show between Full Metal Alchemist and Dragon Ball Z. I want to say that they heard us and they made it a point to do that just for us.
Fusion.
So now I just need the Full Metal Alchemist clap and then put your hands on the ground.
It's funny. It was almost as if we were the FIFA celebration for, to what Gressel.
Yes.
Gressel did the bird celebration. And then I have dreams that Almiron and Joseph
but that
watched
fusion dance was just
somebody just had to point out that Miggy hit Joseph's cast and not his finger.
Oh, no.
And so it was going to be. So they posted a picture of Fat Gotenks. It's a failed fusion. I don't know who did that, but you're amazing.
Oh my God, that's
but it was
really great.
It was awesome to see Ryan Catanese, one of the digital guys over at Atlanta United, posting that, and then immediately on his personal account saying, "Okay, well, I didn't realize everybody was into DBZ." Because he posted it and it blew up.
Oh, yeah.
It blew up big time. Yeah, so Octavio said more like Atlanta cranked it to over 9. Well, he cranked it at 9,000. I like to think they cranked it over 9,000.
Oh God, Elliot Beaven with the Josegi.
Yes,
the combination. Maybe that's a good topic for everybody in the trap. If Miggy and Joseph were to do a fusion, what would their fusion name be?
It can't be Missive, right? Mischief.
Ooh, I like that.
I don't like that. I tricked Kevin into liking that. That was bad. So a couple things. I would be remiss if I didn't bring up yet again the flip side to what everybody loves about Joseph. So everybody, anytime that we have called him out for, we don't call him lazy. We don't like the fact that he lags off sides, and it's more about temperament than it is about work ethic, because we know his work ethic is fine. It's his temperament when he gets upset, whenever he misses a goal, whenever he misses a pass, whenever somebody plays it too long, plays it too short, he'll lag offside sometimes. And sometimes I know it is for strategy. He'll lay off, just knowing that sometimes that ball will rebound. But you got to take the good. You take the good, you take the bad, you take the stuff you never had, the facts of life.
Yeah, sure.
And then that's what happened. So you guys have to deal with whenever Joseph is taking his head out of the game.
So I want to.
He missed two goals.
Okay, so everyone is going to focus on the fact that the one opportunity where what's his name starts with a B. What's their keeper's name? Bush?
Yeah, Evan Bush.
Bush obviously makes the save. Joseph turns around, doesn't follow through after he loses control of the ball, where he could have potentially had a follow through on it. No one is paying attention to the fact that Joseph could have easily had the same response to his first real attempt at goal, where he has the header and Bush saves the ball, but Joseph keeps his head up to make a play and doesn't get his head down or get frustrated, takes a second attempt at it and doesn't just shrug off. He smiles and kind of stays in the game and goes to playing defense and stuff like that too. I think, again, a lot of this discussion and perspective gets really one-sided because that's what we want to focus on, is we want him to be that guy all the time. But he also has moments where he is fighting and jockeying for position. And
that's why I said this is not about work ethic. It's just sometimes his temperament takes him out of the game sometimes.
I agree with that.
I do not question the man's work ethic. I do not question his dedication to the team. I don't question his dedication to winning. It's obvious that it means a lot to him to win and also for him to personally win. It's just sometimes the temperament rears its ugly head, and that's all I'm saying. And I love the guy. I take him with all of his flaws, and all of his flaws is really not many. And I just wanted to, like I said, I would have been remiss if I didn't bring it up.
Agreed.
Because we've gotten a lot of slack anytime we talk about him being offsides too often. Brian saying, I still don't think he would have gotten to that ball. And he said, if you don't love Joseph at his worst, then you don't deserve him at his best.
Right. So we talked about the fusion dance. We talked about Joseph's work ethic. Another fan merch opportunity, I think it was Atlanta United Fan TV was who put it out there. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure some of you guys have seen it. But one of my favorite things that I've seen created so far for Atlanta United fandom is the Joseph Thanos crossover with the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yes.
That shirt is pretty amazing.
Yes, that's amazing, and it is a lot to me. That's a much better one than the Atlanta United Avengers Assemble, where it's just the characters.
The Martinez. I mean, they even got the chin.
Yes,
dip, like
it's
The
fantastic.
design is solid. And I'm pretty sure it's Atlanta United Fan TV. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
No, it is.
Okay, yeah. So go check that out. I think they've got shirts up for sale. But yeah, definitely one of my favorites.
Hey, no spoilers. No Avengers spoilers in the trap.
Shut that mouth. Don't you dare do it.
Brittany asks, I like the new Thor too. I thought it was great. I thought it was whimsical, and I thought
it was the only good Thor.
Yeah, I thought Jeff Goldblum was incredible.
Yeah.
So,
okay. So
I had two more things, I guess, from this game. All right, actually, we have more than that. I guess we can keep talking about this. But to me, is Chris McCann solidified as one of the three backs in a 3-5-2, even with a fully healthy, fully game fit, match fit Franco Escobar?
Yes. That's why I don't understand why we have to have the discussion about Gressel at right back. because of that. I am much more confident in Chris McCann at left back than I am in going to a 4-back and pulling Gressel back to that position.
Oh, no, I'm with you. But at the same time, we've seen Joe Patrick of Dirty South Soccer and of Five Stripe Final talk at length on Twitter about how we are going to go back to that 4-1 or 4-3-2-1.
We switch our formation 4 times throughout the game. There's no reason why we have to be locked into that.
Yeah.
I think a 4-back scenario makes sense. Like I said before, when it comes to Gressel being at right back, if we're facing a team that's going to high press us, it doesn't make sense to force a 3-back scenario where Gressel's having to track back and play that role essentially in a 4-back, where it makes sense to bring in Escobar in a substitution on that right back role.
No, I'm with you. I just don't know how long we're going to play the 3-5-2.
I think it will depend entirely, and it's one of the sentiments that's gone around, and I think it was David that was saying it earlier in the trap, saying that this is all situational, and how unique an opportunity Atlanta United has where we can base our lineup and our formation entirely on the situation that's presented in game in real time.
To a point, right? We are still missing some depth. And you guys talked about it last week, the 6. If Lorenowitz is hurt, we're kind of fucked. Granted, we're probably not fucked against Chicago this weekend. But moving forward, if we don't have somebody to cover and give coverage and unlock Nagbe for him to unlock Almiron and Barco, then we're kind of screwed. But you're right. It is the embarrassment of riches. See, that I didn't have to go and think about it, track back to what
it must be nice to be so well refreshed after a nice long vacation and have all of your thoughts and vocabulary at your disposal.
That's what it is. Chris McCann, to me, has solidified himself as one of the better center backs in MLS right now.
Yes.
Like, he's solid as hell. What have we given up in terms of goals in the past few weeks in the 7-game stretch?
So the 7-game stretch. Okay, so we're going to wipe Houston off the board completely.
Right. The 7-game unbeaten streak. I want to say we've given up 4 goals.
Something like that, yeah. I mean, Brad Guzan's leading the league right now in shutouts, I believe, with 3.
We've given up 5 goals. So we've outscored 19.
Yeah, it's like 26-19 or something.
No, 19 to 5 or 19 to 4. Anyway.
Oh, that's it. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. And he's been a big part of that. I like Elliot Beeman saying Wheeler for, Awo for Jeff as a replacement. I think that's a good call out there. I think that, again, he looked polished. We talked about it a few weeks ago. He looked polished whenever he had to come in and kind of stamp that lead against, I want to say it was DC. Anyway, or was it Minnesota? It was Minnesota whenever he came in. We were down a man whenever Gonzalez Perez got sent off. Anyway, Chris McCann has been solid. Dude, the back 3.
Dude, I can't even. We talk about it each and every week about the depth and who and what and when and where. We figure out. This is the first week that we're going to have to figure that out. Legitimately, we've talked about it for 3 weeks now.
Dude, how healthy we are. And
then something inevitably falls through. Either LGP gets the red card. We have a full fallout 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, whatever it is now, where it seems like we've got missing spots all over the place. Yet we're still 7 games unbeaten. But now we have Escobar, who's clearly healthy, comes in as a sub. Barco is secured his starting position. Gressel's good. Tito's good, comes in as super sub this past week. We really have a fully healthy operational 18, and it'll be the first time where we see where Tata's mentality and thought process is on what happens with that lineup, because it's the first time where it's not ifs and ands and maybes and wins. It's literally Saturday. Everybody's ready. What are we going to do on the road?
Yeah,
I know one thing's for sure. If we got an opportunity to bring Kevin Kratz in for a free kick, you better fucking do it.
This just completely justifies how upset I got whenever we used him as a decoy.
Me too.
It was the NYCFC game, right?
Yes. I pulled out my phone during the game. I tell Katie, I'm like, oh, if Kratz is setting up to take this free kick, this is going in. And you can hear it on my Snapchat story. I pull out my phone to record it. It goes in and she goes, yep.
Dude, it's yeah, I got really upset about that. But anyway, I said the same thing though. We were sitting in the hotel. I was like, yeah, this shit's going in. And sure enough, just world class.
Do we really? I did not realize what Brian Diefenbach said. We have 3 games in 8 days coming up. When is that stretch, Brian?
It starts Saturday.
Really?
Yeah, we have Chicago on Saturday. We have who do we have on Wednesday at home? We have
next Wednesday is a home game?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, geez. I didn't realize we were having a home game during the week
against
so
SKC.
Early.
Yeah, it's at home against SKC. So we have 5-5 Saturday against Chicago in Chicago. We have SKC at home on Wednesday the 9th. And then we go down to Orlando.
Shoo.
We go down to Orlando
That's a
against
tough stretch. That's a tough stretch to have to be on the road in Orlando after.
We're talking about a team of new people that have finally got chemistry, that are finally chugging along. Even with that wife beater in their team, they're still doing well.
So do you think that, to that point, do we start forming up our lineup not necessarily based on what we can do, but what we should do, especially going against Chicago this week? I know it's a road game. It could potentially be a trap game, but really knowing where, because Sporting KC is still pretty high.
Sporting KC is first in the West. I think that we rest people in Chicago.
I agree.
And then we come out guns blazing on Wednesday against
and follow that
SKC.
up on. I think that's the right call.
Logically, it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? You feel like you should probably rest there in the middle of the week, and then give your stars that chance to rest up before they go down to Orlando, play a really heated rivalry game against probably a ruckus crowd of fucking ultras down there.
Oh,
and
1,500.
Yeah, 1,500. We're gonna against an almost sellout crowd in a soccer-specific stadium, but they're soccer-specific fans and tickets sold. It probably makes more sense to rest those guys on Wednesday, but I don't know. I think Elliot Beaven saying he doesn't think they're going to rest the players. He also mentioned earlier that the perfect game would be on Wednesday for Escobar to play against SKC. I think
Dirty Bird person has a good point. I hate resting players in anticipation for the next game. You may lose both of them.
I think so,
because that's what NYCFC just came off of. I mean, NYCFC was just in that predicament coming on. I mean, they went on the road to
Real Salt Lake.
No, it was Kansas City, right?
No, they beat Real Salt Lake on the road, right?
No, I'm talking about the Wednesday night before they played us. I thought it was against Kansas.
It was against Real Salt Lake.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, it's the same deal. They had that same stretch of Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, and they managed to get points out of all of that.
Yeah, I mean, he also put in there Dirty Bird person saying Joseph can't be going 80-plus minutes. That's where I think we're going to see a decent amount of Romario Williams in stretches like this. Whether I don't think he'll start the game just because Joseph's pride, I think, is too great. His ability is too great. I think that his stamina is there. You saw him play the entire 90-plus against Montreal.
I have a question about substitutions. How do red card suspensions work as they go from USL to MLS? Can Miles Robinson play this weekend for Atlanta United, even though he's on suspension for Atlanta United too?
That's actually a great question.
I've never thought about it until just now. Never had that luxury before.
Right. So in England, I think that the ban stretches across, but it doesn't always stretch across leagues. So
yeah, exactly. If you're, I don't know how that works.
I don't know. If anybody in the trap knows this, does Miles Robinson have to? Can he just avoid that suspension?
Would be some shit like LGP can't play, but we can go throw him down USL if we really need him to.
Might as well, right? I mean, they're technically two different entities. Granted, I think both are still in association with the USSF. One's first division, one's third division. I don't think I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know because they're different leagues. I don't know how that works. Especially if you're affiliated and all that. I don't know.
Shout out Jimmy Vance. Hey, buddy.
What up, dude?
Good to see you back again. Hope the baby's doing well and mom too. The Chicago game coming up on Saturday.
Trap game. On the road. 8 o'clock. 8:30.
Golden Boot winner still on that team.
Cinco de Mayo. It's going to be a crazy, raucous crowd. They're gonna be lit.
They're gonna fill the river with salsa, like they do. Like so,
I'm just gonna. What's it called? What's it called? Hardline. I'm gonna hardline salsa. What's it called? Whenever you just put it in an IV bag, just put it straight to the veins.
oh, raw dog.
Raw dog? No, dude, that's a different thing. After dark.
That's not. Yeah, Brian's right. Mainline.
Mainline. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna mainline some salsa in one arm and margarita in the other this Saturday.
Is it really considered? Are they really the Chicago Fire when they play in? Where do they play? Where is their stadium at? It is over in a suburb.
I don't remember.
You know, it's funny. You look up Chicago Fire in Google, and it comes up with this show. Yeah, this shitty show from 2012.
So I'm thinking trap game, late game, especially. You know, it'll depend on what the lineup is, what our approach is going to be to that game. My thought is low scoring. I don't think that they're going to blow us out.
It's Bridgeview, Illinois.
What's the goal differential right now in the league?
I don't think it's great.
I don't think that they're in a wild deficit where, like going into this Montreal game, we knew that they had given up the most goals out of anybody else in the league at that point, or one of the highest.
So they're lollygagging. So there's really a set 6 so far.
-1.
East.
I mean, they're -1 on goal differential.
They're -1, but at the same time, they're 4 points behind. Where there is, what is that? 4 points spanning across or separating 3rd through 6th. There's also 4 points separating Chicago from New York Red Bulls.
And what was their game this week? Or they had a bye this week, right?
No, they drew Toronto 2-2.
I thought it was their bye this week.
No,
I'm gonna say 1-0. 1-0 Chicago. I'm thinking trap game this week.
Yeah, they're -1. Yeah,
I'm thinking 1-0. I'm thinking 1-0, and I think we might drop this game on the road.
To Jay's point, Chicago is playing badly, but they aren't a bad team. I think they're missing David Accam a lot. They don't have that. They don't have a great set of playmakers. I mean, you have to rely on Bastian Schweinsteiger finding Nikolic, and Nikolic is still just scoring PKs most of the time, from what I can recall. And I mean, he's still dangerous. Don't get me wrong. He won Golden Boot last year in his first year in MLS. He is very dangerous inside the box. He knows where to be, has great positional awareness. He needs more service. I think we win. I think that it's going to be a little bit of revenge because we went up there last year and lost 3-0, right? I think it was a goal from.
We kind of split that series with them.
Yeah,
we won 3-1, right?
3-1 here, and then last year we went to Chicago, lost 3-0. Remember, I think Solignac had a goal, and I think that Accam maybe did. Anyway, I think that we win the game. I think it's 3-1, 3-0. I'm going to go 3-0. I'm going to go. It's going to be.
I would love to. I mean, this is where I'm at right now, where each and every week I feel like we've been spoiled, where I'm waiting for us to have these conversations like we were towards the end of preseason. I'm like, nobody panic. It's going to be okay. It's okay to lose a game every now and then. But going 7 unbeaten is just kind of crazy. And I'm just waiting for the bottom to fall out.
For the shoe to fall.
And I don't see any reason to think that it will, because we do have so many viable threats and we do have the amount of depth that we do. But I think the mental games that might start to play out may outweigh the actual physical ones at a certain point where I could see us going on the road expecting.
You're thinking pressure is too much?
Not really pressure per se, but just that you see teams once they start riding a high to almost take a little bit of a dip and get a reality check because they've put. I mean, Atlanta's what plus 19 or something stupid in goal differential. I mean, it's something ridiculous, and I could see us being that way where we just kind of play one of these games on the road expecting to go in and win because they've lost to teams that we've beaten, and we just won 4-1 and we've beaten the best team in the East. All this stuff, I could see them pull. Like you said, they're not bad. They've just had some bad games, and I could see them easily that being a trap game for us.
I don't know if it's necessarily a trap game, so I'm trying to take a look.
Just Dirty Bird person says it the best. I want to see. I would care much more.
Just beat Orlando.
No, I would be okay with dropping a 1-0 loss or a 2-1 loss to Chicago on the road on a Saturday night on a quote unquote holiday where we know the crowd's going to be involved. They're going to play.
Are they though? They can't fill out that stadium, man. they what's their average attendance this year? It's something ridiculous. The same as it was last year. Nobody goes out to those games. Did you watch?
Nonetheless, what Atlanta?
I know you watched it. I watched it with you. The New York Red Bulls playoff game in Chicago last year is fucking empty. The crowd does not play a factor in Chicago.
So this is what is going to start to take place with Atlanta that you see in sports all the time, where they start. I mean, they've had a target on their backs because they've been the darlings of MLS for the past year and 9 weeks. But like you said, we are in the hunt for Supporter Shield right now, and we are blowing teams out convincingly. You're going to start to see these teams that are below the line with almost nothing to lose. It's still really early on in the season, but I could see that playing a role in this, where teams are going to play a different game against the number 1 or number 2 team in the league, much less in their division. So I could see us dropping that, but I would take that loss if it meant that we could come home, win against Sporting KC, and then go on the road to beat Orlando. That loss, I could care less about it. Those games are more important to me.
Orlando and Chicago.
Orlando and Sporting KC.
Really?
Yes.
So a game against the West is more important at this point. I could see that. I mean, they
against a team that's surging in the East and the best team in the West. If you can beat both of those teams over a game that you can conceivably write off as a fluke against Chicago in the East, that doesn't matter to me.
They are playing better of late. I mean, they have a few solid wins and draws. I mean, I'm not going to take that away from Chicago. They're not a complete team. They're not what they were in the regular season last year. They have a win over Columbus at home. They did lose to Zlatan. I believe that was the 1-0 header that he scored. They beat a good Red Bulls team, and then they drew against Toronto. So nobody knows what the hell to expect from Toronto right now.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I want to talk about in the little MLS wrap before we wrap things up. Is what do you make of this Toronto team? Because right now they are sitting pretty low in the standings.
I mean, they're the team that everybody's like, oh, it's just a couple weeks and then they're back in it.
They're the Cleveland Cavaliers, though, dude. They can lag along. They can play in cruise control. They have the squad, the MLS caliber squad, to go and just make a run in the summer.
Well, that's what I'm really interested to see is
what
happens in the summer.
How
many teams in the MLS? Somebody might be able to tell me this. How many teams? Somebody mentioned it. Who is it? Dirty Bird person. Chicago will be getting ready for the World Cup. Maybe. I wonder how many teams in MLS are going to have lineup deficiencies.
He was making a joke about the Chicago reporters asking Schweinsteiger whenever he came.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But nonetheless, it's still okay. Funny, I missed the joke. Whatever. Fuck you.
So Toronto doesn't have to worry about it.
Well,
because guess what? Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore, they get to stay home.
Do we have any teams in the MLS that are going to suffer from key components being missing for the World Cup? Because David Villa is no longer playing. He
might still get a call up. So the way he's been playing pretty well. Spain doesn't have. Alvaro Morato's pretty spotty striker for being 70 million pounds transfer. I think that you probably you run the risk of David Villa being gone.
I guess EPL would probably suffer the most from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. Well, not even really, because the season's done in 4 weeks, something like that, in England and Spain and in Germany. I'm trying to think who really would be.
Speaking of which, I was watching the Bayern Munich game this past weekend, and I did not realize what you want to talk about discrepancy between the East and the West in MLS. Look at the point difference between Bayern and whoever it is in second.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's Schalke's in second.
Yeah, that's it. Just ridiculous.
I found from goal.com, let's see, MLS players that will be at the 2018 World Cup. And you have Giovanni Dos Santos, Jonathan Dos Santos from Mexico, both playing at LA Galaxy. Carlos Vela for Mexico, also from LAFC. David Villa, who we mentioned. Francisco Calvo, the the respected center back from Minnesota for Costa Rica. You have Kendall Waston, his partner in crime in the central defense for Costa Rica. You got Ronald Matarrita from NYCFC.
It's gonna be a long ass list, dude.
Who else? Rodney Wallace, also Costa Rican. Marco Arena, Roman Torres,
Torres
and
Urania,
Elliot Beaven pointed out
losses
from Panama.
But yeah, I think that'll be interesting to see what happens really this summer. I mean, to your point about what does Toronto start to do? Seaman is out this summer.
Yeah, Laurent Simon might be playing for Belgium. That twat with the worst free kick to win a game ever. Shame on you, Sebastian Frey.
We could say whatever.
Stefan Frey.
We can say whatever we want to about Seaman because he's blocked us and he'll never hear us
Guys,
say it.
I don't know if everybody knew that.
Made it.
We made it. I didn't even say anything. I didn't even say anything that egregious to Laurent Simon, and he was like, "I'm not taking this from them." Well, they do call him a twat. So on the show, I constantly call the man a twat. But unless he actually, I'd be floored if he listens to this show.
Well, he definitely doesn't now.
I need to learn to. My Flemish is not as great as it once was. But twat, I think, translates. Anyway.
Twat.
A couple other ones. Another big one is Nico Lodero from Seattle for playing for Uruguay. And then, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yoshi. Brian
Yotun.
mentioned that. Yeah. With Peru. So, yeah, I think it'll be interesting. It's just something we hadn't really talked about to see what happens over the summer, whether it's Toronto or somebody else, what kind of moves start to take place as these teams see some deficiencies in their lineup and how much their depth is tested versus other teams like Toronto who doesn't have that issue.
Yeah. I don't know, dude. I think that we're going to see course correction happen during the summer. I think that should be expected. There are a lot of guys that we just mentioned are mostly playing in the West, a lot of defensive players. And the West, I think, is way more up for grabs than the East. I think the East, we've kind of got the 6 set. The only thing that may interchange is maybe Chicago or Toronto going on a run and forcing their way back in, and hopefully Orlando bowing back out. A couple more things. Speaking of the East, actually, I say that, but New England, they're in 4th right now.
They are. And Red Bulls are 6th. Is that right?
I mean, between Teal Bunbury and Diego Fagundes, they've had some pretty damn good games so far this year. And then I still like Minnesota, despite respect Calvo, and I like the fact that without Molino, they're still
Tyrone Mears.
Respect for Tyrone Mears. 2 words that I don't synonymize with one another.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. So last comment before we start getting into closing. It was earlier on in the trap. We didn't mention it. We mentioned the Kratz Krieg. Big point of discussion everywhere I've seen since this week. And which of the free kicks were better, first or second?
Second free kick. Are you kidding me? He froze and tripped Evan Bush from 30 yards out.
Because MLS put up the first as goal of the week.
The first one's the game winner.
The first one is the prettier one of the 2, I think.
I just don't think so, man. I mean, okay, maybe I can give you that because he hit the bar. You can't hit it better than he hit it.
Right.
But the second one was so much more impressive.
The second one, I think, is more impressive.
Dude, I think
because
just the
context of it also lends itself to more the whole, and credit to Jay who put up the gif of and the sort of subtext of Almiron looking and talking to Kratz about like, oh, what do you think this is? FIFA? You gonna get another free kick? You gonna get another goal? Okay, all right, we'll see. Then lo and behold, he goes up and puts it in. I think that the contextual situation of the second one, because even he sets up, and I'm like, nah, no way is he gonna put in a second one, and then to knock it down, fifth player in MLS history to hit 2 free kicks in a game.
Yeah, the fact that he did it as like a 30-minute substitution.
First player to do it as a substitution.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah,
the guy can hit. Brittany S pointed out the first one was clean. I thought it hit the post. I may be wrong, I guess.
The first one was clean. The second one was the one that hit post.
Oh, my bad.
Yes.
But yes, the catch out on the second one was the best. Watching Evan Bush, I don't even know how that was kind of bad goalkeeping because it didn't look like the ball knuckled. Do you think it knuckled? It looked like it had spin on it the whole time.
It seemed like it did.
But Evan Bush, the ball at its furthest right was down the middle of the fucking goal.
Right.
And Evan Bush goes to his left and just
No. Go back.
somebody get me a. Maybe I'll have to do that whenever in Street Fighter. Yeah, whenever you knock Guile out at the end.
That's great.
So we have, as always, like we said at the beginning of the show, if you leave us a review on Stitcher, iTunes / Apple Podcasts, we will read it out on the show no matter what it says. We have 2 brand new ones this week. I think we got like 5 new ratings.
We
only
keep
have
those up, guys. We really appreciate it. It helps us get noticed in iTunes and podcatchers and keeps the brand and network moving forward. Be sure to show Unrelegated some love along the same lines. They have stuck to the family mantra, which is that we will read all reviews, whatever they may say, live on the show. So without further ado, the first one, titled So Much Fun, 5 stars by JD, aka Music Fan Attic. I've been following this team since day one, so I'm constantly looking for Atlanta United podcasts to listen to. I love this one. Some podcasts make you feel like you're being talked to, and some make you feel like you're in a room with friends. You guys are the latter, which makes this show so great. I host my own movie podcast, Reel In, Real Pod, unshameless plug, and I hope it becomes as electric as your podcast one day. Keep it up, bad boys. Thanks, man. We appreciate it. Be sure to go check out his podcast, Reel In, Real Pod. I'm assuming wherever podcasts can be found, and show that guy some love.
I'm gonna read the third one since it didn't show up on your phone.
No, it didn't.
It just showed up on mine.
I might have just cleared.
Yeah. It's weird. Sometimes iTunes will push it through after an hour. Sometimes it takes a day or two. There's a reason they're number 1, 5 stars by Keith F. And then in parentheses, ATLUTD. I love this podcast. The guys are very knowledgeable. Being new to MLS, thank you, Atlanta United. The insight provided helps me grow as a fan. They are like ATL2 to me. More minutes is more development as a fan. This is critical when walking confidently to the proverbial office water cooler. When walking to and speak confidently about soccer and more than just AUFC. When I get to be a late sub into the game, it's like I'm Kratz scoring 2 off free kick set pieces. They know people that make great stickers too. Keep up the great work. Love the addition of Unrelegated to the team as well.
No, I said additioni. And then finally, 5 stars, 5 stripes by M. McFly. I said 5 stars. Oh, yeah. It is 5 stars. The title is 5 stars, 5 stripes. This is confusing.
I love this review because of how confusing it is. It's so weird, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
I gave this 5 stars, even though I did not get Home Before Dark. So if you're interested in Atlanta United and listening to almost total chaos, this is the podcast for you. It does not help with time travel, regardless of the title.
Did you say who the author was?
McFly.
Yeah, Marty McFly
great.
For all you youngsters, you millennials. I think we're millennials anyway that have never seen
Ready Player One's popular right now. They probably got it now.
Oh, is Back to the Future in Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Oh, I still haven't seen the movie.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't in the book.
Oh, okay. I thought it was in the book.
I don't think so. Did you listen to the book yet?
I've been starting it. I started reading it like an old man. Like a much older man. I read now. And then I go to sleep. I get 2 pages in. I'm asleep.
My favorite part about my audiobook app is it has a sleep timer on it.
I used to have the best dreams whenever I listened to Harry Potter on audiobook. It was amazing. Okay.
That sounds frightening.
That said, if any of you are listening to us, I hope you have sweet dreams tonight as we slowly tuck you in and kiss you goodnight on the forehead. Thanks for checking us out. Dan did not get us audio. Again, he's slacking. We tell him how great the people loved his After Dark segment. He just doesn't show up, doesn't feel the need to contribute. Who knows what he's doing? You could probably find him Thursday on the Mouths of the South podcast. Yet to be seen.
The Mouths of the Midlands. It's his new spinoff where he covers nothing but Birmingham football and then Atlanta United.
Nonetheless, you can find him on Twitter at DNJMS.
Guys, it's Dan James without the vowels.
That's it.
It's easy to figure out after that.
You can find all of us at Home Before Dark. That's before spelled B and the number 4. Also, you can find all of our shows, information, fantasy league, prediction, the shop. A lot of you guys have seen the hats, which I'd be remiss if we didn't give special shout out and consideration to our buddy Chris, who was on the front row wearing that sweet snapback Home Before Dark hat that I was freaking out every time it came up on the Halo board this weekend. To see that Home Before Dark hat worn loud and proud on the front lines made me so giddy.
Yeah. So again, thank you for all your support, and especially shout out to Chris Robinson for that. Great dude.
So you can
also shout out to Ray Riddle, by the way.
Oh, Ray Riddle is my fucking favorite, dude. We got another podcast coming up with him soon.
Yeah, it is After Dark with Ray Riddle. Yeah, we're going into the darkness.
I'm a big fan of bagels and pizza. So check out Get Home Before Dark /shop.
I take Ken over Guzman any day of the week.
Fuck sleeves.
You seen that beard? He's got that beard. He's got the slick back. He's got a comb over. He's got it. You seen the hoodie I wear? Have you seen me? I'm super fan Ray Riddle.
Super fan Ray.
We did an entire segment. It's just Superman.
Ray with my broed out version of myself from last year.
Kevin Broadley and Ray Riddle.
Kevin Broadley and Ray Riddle. I love it. So yeah, check out gethomebeforedark.com /shop. You can find Tim as well on Twitter. Where can they find you at?
You can find me at my name. That's with the vowels. That's TIMHERB.
You can find me as well, unrelated to my name, at The Architect. That's at _ARC. The number 1 TECT. Thank you guys so much for all of your love and support for the network, for Unrelegated, for Home Before Dark, for Atlanta United FC Weekly, everything that you guys do. We appreciate the hell out of you guys so much. Thank you so much. And we'll continue to keep you guys posted on where you can find us at live. You can find us next week, as always, at our regularly scheduled time, regularly scheduled place. Hopefully, unless I screw up the time again on Twitter like I did today, we will keep you posted nonetheless. As always, be home before dark.
Let's get the fire extinguishers.
Fuck sleeves.
Go put out the fire. That was my version.
Wait and start the fire.
We put it out though. We're gonna put it out. Love you guys. Bye.